All right, so we're talking about chromaticism. Is that what we're doing right now? What do you want to know about chromaticism, Josh?
Well, I feel like I don't use it in a thoughtful way. I'm just kind of for some reason some things I play have it and some things don't. It just depends on if my finger is available for it. Like I always do like that kind of thing. Like I'll do it for random crap like that, but I guess I don't have like a thoughtful way of incorporating it.
So it's just part of some lines that you have?
Yeah, I would like to be able to more intentionally use it. I've done some of the thing where you play around a note and then hit the note.
Like enclosures or whatever?
I'm not comfortable enough with it to actually use it in an improv setting, you know?
Yeah, all that sort of enclosure-esque stuff kind of works with when you want the note to happen. For example, if I wanted to go from this note to this note, there's a lot of different ways I could do it depending on where I want this second note to happen, right? I could do or maybe, right? I can add more notes to fill the space in my line. There's some pretty straightforward patterns of whole and half steps in scales. So there's some pretty consistently repeatable patterns that you can use to surround notes with chromaticisms. Just now I was thinking of a visual shape that looks like this, right? 2 whole steps.
Yeah.
So I have all this chromaticism that I can do, right?
Yeah.
And, you can be a bit more out with it where you don't play the notes and be like, that's a bit more out because I'm accenting the flat 9 if I'm thinking that this is a root. Right? It's a bit more tense. I have to resolve it properly. But so this is 2 whole steps. But if I'm thinking half step, whole step, I could go or right. You could fill the space up with chromaticism and treat them differently. Same thing with if I'm thinking right, whole step, half step.
So are you thinking of chromatic stuff more in a rhythm sense then? Because you're using it to accent what note you want on a certain beat? Or is it like, is there also like a harmonic way you're thinking about it?
It's definitely rhythmic. And I guess if I had to like give a really, really simple example, what you want to do if you're trying to play really square and like outline a change is you want to put the unaccented notes or the passing tones or all the notes that aren't important on the upbeat. So if I go, right, instead of going, I mean, I don't know if you're hearing that. My head might be indicating what I'm feeling, but that's kind of how I think about it. And then the rest is just like language, like what other people have done and then breaking those lines up into smaller motifs and then using those. Like this is that's just part of a line.
Yeah, what is that?
A minor arpeggio. Yeah. Yeah, and I actually use my ring finger to slide up here.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What's the reason for that?
Because if I want to hit the 9, my pinky's already there.
Okay. Yeah. Those style of lines sound so cool when it's like just thrown in the middle of a legato line.
I'm all about that.
So when you're playing stuff faster like that though, is it more like patterns that you've memorized or are you actually trying to enclose certain notes?
At a certain speed, I can actually think about it and enclose some notes. Like if I'm playing like at that speed, I have enough CPU that I can think about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But when I speed up, it's more muscle memory and stuff that I've done over and over. Like, I'm sure you have the same thing where, like, the faster you go, the more it's stuff that you've been playing for longer.
Right, yeah. Which is why I've been like slowing down, because I'm like, okay, I want to play different stuff. So I've been slowing down and kind of taking my time with figuring out maybe new patterns and then trying to speed them up. Because you know how stuff you've been playing for a while, you know how it feels. And like new stuff, you're not going to know how it's going to feel. So slowing it down and then forcing myself to speed up with it has helped that.
Yeah, and when you're in that kind of sweet spot where you can do it, but you're kind of you're sweating, like you can just about do it.
Yeah,
that's the sweet spot of practice. So like trying to purposefully improvise with newer material that you've been learning in that spot where you can kind of just do it is where you're truly practicing, and then it gets into your playing. But in terms of the chromaticism thing, it's also just seeing where other people are doing it and then transcribing that line and then seeing how the phrasing is, right? If they're playing chromaticism and it sounds more out than other chromaticism, why is that? Maybe it's because they did it a certain way against the felt quarter note, right? Maybe it's accented chromaticism that they only resolve later. Or maybe they use the chromaticism to pivot and go play out, which is a whole other subject. But it's just like, in my head, it's definitely a device to make the line fit in the time. If you have important notes that you want to hit in an arpeggio, let's say, you could fill those up with enclosures or chromaticism, right? If you're playing really square, you would practice feeling that with the arpeggio notes on the downbeat. The bebop scale, actually, if I play like, it's just a regular scale with a passing tone. And what happens is when you play the scale, you end on the root on a downbeat. That's the whole point of the bebop scale.
Okay. What's the difference in your head between actually thinking about a scale like that and then just incorporating chromatic things in like the major scale?
I'm not really thinking about those things ever. I was just giving that as an example. In a major scale, it can go wherever, right? It's more about like trying to figure out the line. The more you try to do it, the more you will find things that work better than others, and you will kind of archive that in your mind to then use in a solo. I would just like pick up different motifs and try to play them in your lines. Like something that I've picked up a while ago that I practiced was, so with these 3-1-3 arpeggios that we were talking about a while ago, right? Right, you can kind of put those in there, right? So I could go,
oh, weird. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Using like the 3-1-3 as an outline is cool.
There's also a lot of like cadential material, which is just like vocabulary that is used to resolve lines. And those will use a lot of chromaticisms, and you can see how it encloses the resolving note. So I don't have that many of those, that sort of vocabulary, but stuff like this, like, right, like, right, or maybe like that sort of thinking, like,
yeah,
right, right. You could say it's chromaticism, especially here, right? That's sort of like drawing out the resolution instead of going. It has to fit in the beat. Right, with the accenting.
I feel like those ending line things that you just did, those are very recognizable and don't sound as out.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of precedent to them. There's a lot of lore, like, oh, this guy did his homework. Oh, yeah.
He really knows how to resolve.
Yeah, exactly. But it just comes up. There are cool ways to do it, right? It's always really cool when you do something whack and then you end it like that.
Yeah, No, that stuff's really interesting, and I want to start working on it more. I think I'm gonna start incorporating that more in when I'm when I'm slowing stuff down. Try to throw that in there. Get my fingers used to it.
What you might find interesting, because I've seen you do some stuff where you kind of step out a little bit, you know, like play like some side stepping. What you can do is you use chromaticism as a way to step out. So if I'm in A minor, this is what I'm thinking.
Yep.
So I have the third here.
Yep.
And then you have the flat 5. Right? So it's pretty insight to think like. But what you could do is you could use the flat 5 and then do an enclosure, and then you're on this note, and then you pivot it a step up.
Oh. And then you're okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so resolving it after the fact is the challenge, and I haven't really found a way to do that reliably. But something to keep in mind is when you are in the out key, you have to play a really strong sound. So what I mean by that is if you're playing notes from the pentatonic scale, I would stick to pentatonic scales because the pentatonic sound is such a strong sound. If you step out and then you play a bunch of extensions that are based on nothing because you're a step up from the original key, it's going to sound a bit weaker. And then you have to find a way to get back in.
I tend to like just slide out of it, like something like that.
That's the way to do it. You could also do something, leave some space, and do the same thing, but in the key, right? Like, you leave some space, kind of rest into the dissonance, and then resolve it. Playing out is a whole thing that I don't want to speak too much about because I don't know enough about it. I know a little bit, but not enough. I'm not sick enough to do that.
We'll save it for another time.
Yeah, I'll save it for another time when I have some time to practice.
Thank you for watching this episode of Trading Licks. We're going to be splitting these videos between Joseph and my YouTube channels, so be sure to subscribe to both and check out our links and descriptions for all the good stuff. And yeah, see you next time.